Other chapters may be better known for this kind of move. Blood Angels, Space Wolves. But we are all Space Marines. We are all capable of every discipline of war. So the Xenos believe they are safe from us, safe from a direct assault. They think they have learned. Ha! Now they have fortified the area very nicely, they think. An overwhelming set of anti-aircraft firepower, all coordinated through their foul alien cogitators. Surely, anything that would attempt to drop on this space would be cut to pieces in moments, dissected by overlapping fields of fire before they even got halfway through the atmosphere. Thus our usual jump pack assault is not on the menu today. A pity. I do love the speed, the flexibility, the reach of being aloft, able to jump into the skies at wish, able to descend like a thunderbolt when I spot my target. But this is hardly the end of the matter. The fools are deluding themselves that our only avenue of assault is from the skies. They show their naivety. As we move across the plains towards them, taking the shortest route possible from the outcropping closest to their facility, all the while a cordon of support fire confuses the Xenos senses and obscures us from line of sight. But by the regular prangs coming off their armor, they still have the ability to hit us. But anything other than a direct hit, and with the right weapon, will not even slow this vehicle. For it is a Land Raider Crusader, a holy relic of its kind. One that does not have the long-range weaponry of the Godhammer, the double lance cannons on either side. No. In this version of the Land Raider, there are less heavy weapons, but far more room for its cargo, its real teeth. Us. We are inside, preparing to perform a combat deployment straight down their throats. We are not alone, and this only adds to the complexity for the defenders. To concentrate on one target and focus it down, or to spread their shots and hope to stop all of our tanks before we reach their lines. They do not crack the conundrum in time, as we, like most of our brethren, reach our target position. The light inside the cabin, our hold, turns from amber to red as the doorway at the front opens up, slamming down onto the ground and making a perfect ramp for us to use to pass the paltry defences in our way. Our sergeant barks the order and we move as one outside, throwing frag grenades in front of us, the smoke from the Land Raider protecting us from the worst of the massed fire that meets us. But most of it patters off our armor like so much rain. Our power armor has weaknesses, but to capitalize on them, one must be able to see them, after all. My brothers around me. We scramble up the incline, our grenade explosions causing chaos, the ridgeline hammered by the many bolters and weaponry of the Land Raider. We crest the first hurdle with ease, and are then rewarded by a massed welcome party. As I dive into their midst, my chainsaw proclaiming its hunger with each rev, I begin to feed it. On my left, two of my brothers barrel into the left flank of the delegation, knocking all over like skittles. Then they proceed to rip around them with chainswords. Paras favours the power of the overhead downward swing, to Bayern the economic strikes that allow him to sever more limbs, take more scalps than others. But the fear that Paras's blows and style elicit have half of those who would face him retreating and with tail tucked between their legs. I fire my bolt pistol into the head of the one in front of me, and then whip past him and barehead the one behind. With our differing styles, we all act in concert. We carve a bloody path through our foes. As with so much else in life, it feels like it is over before it begins. Later, I am told that we fought for 3 hours solidly. To me, it felt like seconds. I look back on the pathway of our entry, the carnage, the practical carpet of corpses of these Xenos filth. This is what we were bred to do. This is why we were chosen, forged, trained, and then deployed. This. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Voldemort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and units of the Warhammer 40k universe, the grim darkness of the far future. And so, we continue our tour of the duties, roles, and progression of an Adeptus Astartes, a Space Marine. We have already covered the tenure in the Scout and Devastator squads, the 10th and 9th companies. Today, we will be covering the next stage in the pathway, the promotion from 9th company to 8th, to where the Assault Marine role is trained. Assault Marines are very exciting, as I shall discuss after we have covered the very basics of what they are. So, for the very basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, Assault Squads. Assault squads excel at close quarters fighting. Equipped with jump packs, they blaze across the battlefield, charging into the foe with turbo-engine impetus and sending targets sprawling from the skull-crunching force of their impact. Opposing infantry are shredded with chainsaw and bolt pistol, enemy tanks with crack grenades and melter bombs. Such tactics are far from subtle, but effective nonetheless, though a foe who perceives this to be the extent of an assault squad's capability is woefully mistaken. The jump packs worn by assault marines provide exceptional mobility, allowing them to redeploy quickly in a series of hard-hitting attacks, or even perform controlled low-altitude descents from Thunderhawk gunships. Assault squads draw some of the most brutal battle assignments. Often operating ahead of the rest of the army, assault marines are ever in danger of being outflanked, cut off, or simply overwhelmed by the enemy. Even if an assault squad is knee-deep in corpses and fighting for their lives, their sergeant must be aware not only of his current situation, but also any imminent or potential developments that will leave his battle brothers stranded in a sea of bloodthirsty foes. Should this occur, only raw might and iron resolve will allow the assault marines to hack their way clear of the foe and claim victory. End quote. The ever-popular assault marine, and they have every right to be so. For there are few moments, few confrontations that are so romantically or visually stirring as the duel, with melee weapon in hand, looking directly into the eyes of the foe. It is also where any potential banter or interaction may occur, so it is one of the favourite battle formats for any budding fantasist or yarn weaver, like myself. So to the fan, it is a visual and dramatic treat, but to the Space Marines themselves, it is so much more. Literally, skill in melee is life, but also it is the fastest and best way to display ability and to gain acclaim from their peers. But let us go through its training implication before we get to that. As we have seen, the Scout stage teaches teamwork, discipline, stealth, and strategy. The Devastator training puts the Marine closer to a battle proper, but not yet in the center of the fray, so the Marine can watch his more experienced brothers in action. Now we move on to the Assault Squad and role, which is still but a snapshot, a small theatre amongst the wider battlefield. Despite being in the midst of the battle, or at its very fore, the Assault Marine is still only really required to perform his duty and to focus on that which is right in front of him, the target of the assault detail. As we have heard, the veteran sergeants will be the ones who are aware of the localized ebbs and flows of the conflict, but the Assault Marine himself is more pointed and then activated. The much vaunted and highly popular jump pack assault, where Marines literally rain from the skies and upper atmosphere down in very precise hits, often circumventing much of the defensive positioning of the enemy, the likes of walls and moats, etc. But the equally lethal approach, as I hope my little tale displayed earlier, is the armoured advance, the transports being little more than a delivery system for the barely fettered rage inside. Be it Storm Ravens, Rhinos, drop pods, or the dreaded Land Raider assault tank, the squad is the true threat. Once their cargo has been unleashed, most of the delivery systems will either withdraw or go on to further placements or strategic targets, unless the target of the assault squad is one of many ports of call in a trail of destruction that is required to be wrought across that battlefield. But why is melee so important to Space Marines in an era of handheld weaponry that can melt tanks, bring down walls, or burn all to a crisp before they get anywhere near to their target? Why? As far as I see things, the root is the psychological makeup of the Astartes, one that has not substantially altered over the many long years of the Imperium. For the Astartes or Primaris is denied so much, They sacrifice so many things to be one of the rare elite defenders of humanity. They are not permitted to wed, or breed, or enjoy a usual familial existence. Hence this urge, one of the most powerful in all races, the urge to procreate, is negated. And all of that leaves a void. Nor are they usually permitted to hold any rank or station outside of their chapter, outside of the structure of the Space Marines. Another urge, to be the alpha, if you will, or at the very least to have a sense of worth and purpose that can be gained from the direction of others. Another void. By the tenets of the Codex Astartes, but also the doctrines of the chapters, all are defined by their instilling of unshakable discipline and uniformity. Only when one has learnt all of the roles, can perform them perfectly, can one be allowed any form of individuality whatsoever. This perpetual rigidity and uniformity also leaves a yawning chasm in the psyche of the Marine, as they are still very much human. The urge, the need to be individual. To excel, yes, but also to just express. With so little time to themselves, few Marines have the luxury of any form of expression whatsoever, but certainly none while they are effectively still learning what it is to be a Space Marine. To train to such an extent that everything, literally everything they do, is based around muscle memory and automatic responses. In such a world, the need for individuality is utterly suppressed until one can act as an extension of the squad alone. So many spaces, so many urges and defining drives that are not given any focus or any way to be satisfied. Well, as with any sentient, but most especially humanity, the needs that are not met are shunted into other arenas and lead to overcompensation or even addiction to their release in the prescribed methods. Thus do the Space Marines, Astartes or Primaris, have so much of their life stripped away that they are really only ever actually able to express themselves in one place. One accepted arena. Just the one. Combat. And this then leads to the import of melee. For even in the days of the Great Crusade, much was made of the accuracy of a Marine, their own skills also, like leadership, stoicism, determination and resolve. But none ever came close, ever, to the glory and acclaim that was won through skill in close quarters combat. And this can be seen even today. For one example is the Feast of Blades. Yes, the Imperial Fists meet regularly, if not frequently, and when they do so, each chapter is represented at a combat, a tournament, the Feast of Blades. No higher honour is there in the sons of Grogol Dawn than to be a winner of this event. The Imperial Fists. The Legion and chapters are well known for their drills and consequent skill in the use of the bolter. Even they decide the most virtuous of their warriors and chapters by a contest of swords. It is also one of the only times a Marine will be able to really express themselves. They are all taught in the same way, or equally skilled within certain considerations, definitely to a mind-numbingly skilled minimum. But they are humanity's finest after all. Yet here, in melee, the toil of the blade, the invention of a new move, the finesse or fury on display, all show the character of the Marine, as no contest or display of accuracy ever could, without it descending into parody or comedic choices of targeting. But in melee, be it with sword, axe, hammer, fist or spear, the personality of the combatant shines out. As was once said, one cannot know a person unless one has fought them, and this is incredibly accurate for the sons of the Primarchs, the Space Marines. So it is that the caged rage and fury of the Marines, built and encouraged but never truly released in all of their training to this point, is finally unleashed. And it is necessary for the Marine to gain more experience in the Scout and Fire Support Squads first, for it gains the Marine the control to be able to hold back. Few chapters allow their hotheads, their younger Marines, to be assault earlier on, as it could lead them to either hubris or a total lack of restraint and a swift fall to the allures of chaos, and Khorne in particular. For the Marines are creatures of only barely concealed rage. Ever is it bubbling just under the surface, as this state, rage, has grown to fill all of the holes in their hearts that might previously have been used on hearth and home, kith and kin. So they are very much like walking hulks to a certain extent, and yes, they are always angry. And it is close combat, and only in close combat, that they can not only express, release, and experiment, but it is also the most lauded of all of the pursuits and disciplines of the Marines. So it is the best receptacle for all of those urges to be recognized and lauded by one's peers. It is little wonder that the assault sections of the Marines are like a tsunami of rage. They can never be matched by any standard human, even were they to have all of the abilities of a Marine. Assault Marines, Death Company and Wolfen being their most extreme expressions, are also some of the most fun models to own, paint and play. Trust me, there are few things more fun than a good massed jump pad charge into the midst of the enemy. Win or lose, it is never, ever a draw. I have been Voldemort, your faithful servant. I hope you have enjoyed this brief introduction to the role of the Assault Marine. If so, then do please consider liking and subscribing. If you do, then hit the notifications button, as I would not want you to miss out. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.